I think the importance to Kabul is that it's an exposure to the foundations of Western journalism. People in Kabul have seen Western journalism. I mean, they've seen CNN and you know the news programs that are there. But now they get to be exposed to how it's taught.
Kabul University is the other institutions that have been suffering from 30 years of war. So the infrastructure was completely destroyed. The buildings were destroyed, the laboratories were destroyed, and the teachers and professors have been all, you know, dislocated, left or got killed or put in jail and things like that. So it needs a lot of reconstruction.
Because, as you know, since 30 years, we were in a bad situation in Afghanistan, especially the war, a long war situation, make us a little bit far from civilization and
Physically, the conditions haven't changed very much. Afghanistan is a country where it's a country at war, and it will be at war even when, you know, the U.S. troops leave. It will still be a conflicted country. There are problems with electricity. There are problems with clean water. There are problems with sanitation. There are problems with transportation, and even at the University of Kabul, there are problems with security. There have been conflicts on campus that have closed the school down for months at a time.
The goal of this project was to enhance the capacity of the faculty of the Kabul Journalism, School of Kabul Journalism professors, and upgrade and update them with the new media techniques, and especially in the area of curriculum development, their academic skills, so they can teach their students according to the standards that we here in the United States have.
A syllabus should answer 3 questions. And actually, I'm adding a 4th one in a minute. What will I learn? How will I learn it? And why?
از نظر یک معاصر سلابس یا مفردات درسی باید از روی این 3 سوال شروع بشه که بگه what I learn چی ما میآموزم چگونه میتونم بیاموزمش و چرا میآموزمش.
Then there will be a big demand for exchange of scholars and professors and students, and especially students. You know, they are in desperate need of receiving some instructions from us, from our professors, because, as you know, had a long time affiliation with Kabul University as a sister university, and we have been involved since 1970s. In many areas of Kabul University, faculty of engineering, faculty of medicine, faculty of education, in all those areas, and they have had a taste of it, but now they want more of it.
They have journalism programs that are growing and expanding a great deal with the changes that have been happening economically and politically in Afghanistan in recent years. They have a lot more people who are interested in journalism. They have a lot more media outlets, as I understand it, than they used to. And they want to be able to teach journalism, broadcasting, communication on an expanded basis. And I think they needed to know how to do that to some extent.
I think they got to see what was possible. And I think that was probably one of their principal frustrations as well, because they got to see what was possible and realized that it wasn't yet possible at the University of Kabul. But they also got to see new ways of doing things, new ways of teaching. There was many remarks from some of the older professors in particular I know that I had come to some of my classes, and they were talking about the participation of the students in the lecture itself and the enthusiasm. And not that Afghani students aren't enthusiastic, but they're, from what I've been told, they're pretty much, the professor goes on the board and he writes down the lesson with his back to the students, and they write down as much as they can following along, and there's not a whole lot of class discussion, and there's not a whole lot of back and forth, and that's not the way it works at UNO. At UNO, there's a lot of discussion and a lot of back and forth, or there should be.
I sensed in our discussions that the older faculty were very interested in some of the things of working with students in a different way, in a more contemporary manner. The younger faculty have a lot to learn, the benefit and wisdom that the older faculty have. So I think I don't know if it's going to be exactly in the middle, but I would tend to say the older faculty will bend a little less than the newer ones, but I think they'll come together in some meaningful way and they'll help each other out.
I think the biggest advantage to Kabul University and the journalism faculty there has been learning teaching techniques that they never had exposure to. Most of them got their entire education in Afghanistan or in Asian countries, if they were lucky enough to get out. Very few of them have had an advantage of coming to Western countries. And I don't mean that in a bad way, it's just that there's a difference in teaching style. And it's been my experience in the Middle East and in Afghanistan, and I would assume in India as well, that the teaching style there is very much an old British style of teaching, and really an old American style of teaching, where the teacher stood in front of the class, read the lecture to the class, the students sat and took notes, and at the end, the teacher closed his or her notes and walked out of the room. And there was no interaction, there was no questioning, there was really very little contact with the students. And that's changed a lot in the West, where we really strive to engage with the students from the very, very first, from writing, a syllabus. We engage with the students. We make a contract with the students. We tell the students what the course is going to be, what the outcomes of the course are, and the direction, and how we'll get there, how we'll get to those outcomes. And that's from the very first day. And then all along the way, there is not only lecture, but there is engagement with the student. And so I think they got an exposure to that they hadn't had before. And they can become even better teachers than they have been, because they've been good teachers.
Another very big step towards success, toward development, and if your cooperation is with us, we will be able to go on a bright way in the journalism field and have a democratic society and work for the
This is an amazing program for not only cross-cultural exchange between the United States and Afghanistan, but it is an opportunity to train these journalists, journalism professors, to be solid journalism professors. I think it's a vital opportunity for us to exchange our talents and our knowledge and give these professors an idea of the importance of journalism and journalism education.
I think that the people that will benefit from this are not only the Afghani professors and ultimately their students, but also the UNO professors and our students. To get an insight to another culture, another way of doing things, another way to think about things, I think is always valuable.
نخست ما از پانتون نبراسکا نهایت سپاسگزار هستیم که چنین سمینارها یا کنفرانس ها را زمینه سازی میکنه بر ما تا بر آموزش بهتر و نسل‌های آینده جوانان یا محصلان پانتون ها مفید تمام شود برایشان. خوب ما چیزهای نو را از این سمینار یاد گرفتیم. آموزش خوب بود برای ما، واقعا مفید تمام شد. مثلا نحوه آموزش ما آموختیم که چطور بتانیم شاگرد بفهمانیم. یعنی این برای ما مهم نباشه که ما چطور درس دادیم، این برای ما مهم باشه که ما شاگرد چی درس دادیم و شاگرد چی آموخت از ما. موضوعات مختلف مثلا تغییر در مفردات درسی که سیلابس است، اونا را آموختیم و بعضی از دیگه موضوعات آموزنده در عرصه یا زمینی ژورنالیسم که خیلی مفید تمام شد. ما این مسائل را از استادان نبراسکا، پانتون نبراسکا آموختیم. نهایت از ایشان تشکر میکنم. امیدوار هستم که دوباره همین چو زمینه ها برای ما و برای خودشان این زمینه ها برابر شود یا مساعد شود که از نظریات ما و از نظریات ایشان که تبادل نظر هست بتانیم ما هم خودشان هم ما از این سمینارها استفاده درست را کنیم تا برای نسل آینده خود بتانیم بهتر آموزش بدیم.
Well, I hope they're all going to benefit from what we did with them, although I think a lot of the younger faculty members are the ones who are going to be building the future and the ones who probably are going to be teaching for a longer period of time. I know several of the younger faculty members were in UNO in the fall of 2013 as well, and really seemed to have an appetite for wanting to learn how to do things and to be better teachers and for new techniques, and we're very open to change and new things, I think. So in some ways I think that the younger faculty members, just because of the fact that they're open to a lot of things and will be teaching for a longer period of time, are going to benefit quite a bit. The female faculty members too, as you said, there were 3 of them, I believe, who participated in the program that we had in India, and it's good to see that women are getting a chance, at least making some inroads. I did have a few chances to talk with some of the women. I think I was the only woman there from UNO, and at least one of them spoke fairly good English, and I did have some conversations with her. And she talked a little bit about how things haven't changed completely by any means for Afghan women, but that they are changing somewhat. And I think just by having some women role models, female students may see the opportunities for themselves as well. So,
and also they are very intelligent and they are keen of learning. It's important that such as a province of Afghanistan, and also the very younger the professor, they are very young, but they are keen of studying something. It was also interesting for me because as I learned something about the other provinces of Afghanistan that all the time were war and something else, right now they changed their mind and they also keen for learning.
Principal beneficiaries will probably be the younger professors because they have more of a clean slate. And some of these guys have been teaching longer than you and I have, and yeah, they're gonna fall back on the old reliable, what they've always done, because they know it works. With the brand new professor, it's like, wow, I hadn't thought about that before because they haven't tried these things, they haven't done these things. So I do think that the long-term benefits might be more, they may get more out of it in the long run, but I also think that all the professors, including the professors, those of us that went there to help teach the Afghanis, all got something from it.
خب واقعا که هر کشور امو کلچر خود و کلتور خاص خود داره، ولی چون ما قبلا به اساس اونمو تمامیتی که با پانتون نبراسکا ایالات متحده آمریکا داشتیم، استادان ما تحت برنامه‌های مشخصی رفتن از خود ایالات متحده آمریکا هم دیدن کردن. در اونجا از نزدیک با کلچر و فرهنگ و امی کلتور از اون کشور آشنایی حاصل کردن که در حقیقت امر این چالش برانگیز نبود، چالش برانگیز نیست. این در حقیقت امر برای ازدیاد معلومات و برای تجارب خود استادان ما در پانتون کابل واقعا که هم مسئولیت خود داره، فایده خود داره، زیرا ما از کلچر و کلتور امریکا با خبر میشیم و این در حقیقت به تجربه ما میافته.
Well, what I think is going to change is the faculty will relate better with their students. The internet, international communications has really changed how younger people in that country view the world, what they know about the world, and I think the faculty really wanted to be able to have a different level of communication and relationship with them. And I think some of the things that we help them with, some of the things they observed here, many of them have visited UNO, assist them in doing that. And then the other aspect is they have a good mixture of very long-term, medium range, and then relatively new faculty members. They traditionally didn't communicate well with each other. I mean, not intentionally, it's not like they had anything against each other, but they weren't sharing ideas, and I think there's more of that. We got them involved in group efforts and small group discussions and whatnot, and I think they're taking the energy of the young new faculty and the knowledge of maybe how to communicate a little better with the wisdom of the older faculty, and they're coming together, and I think they'll help each other out too.
This morning we're going to talk about communication style in the classroom.
امروز ما می‌خوایم که روند ارتباط گیری یا برقراری ارتباط در درون صنف را مبحث ارائه بکنیم.
And how that communication style can affect learning of the students.
و ببینیم که این سبک ارتباطات داخل صنف چگونه میتونه برای بهتر شدن آموزش و بهتر شدن تدریس کمک بکنه.
من آرزو میکنم که زمانی که دوباره برمیگردم از اینجا به طرف خانه یا هوم، ما از این چیزا خوب استفاده کرده بتانیم، یعنی چیزایی که یاد گرفتیم آموختیم بتانید درست و دقیق برای شاگردا یا محصلین خود برسانیم، که یکی از آرزومندی ما هم هست که شاگرد ما چیز بیاموزه، یک تغییر در خود زمینه یا ساحه ژورنالیسم ایجاد کنیم، نوآوری کنیم، که خوشبختانه چیزایی را ما آموختیم در عرصه چگونگی درس، مفردات، تغییر مفردات درسی به مرور زمان و تحقیق، تبلیغ و موضوعات مختلف آموزشی را ما آموختیم. آرزو میکنم که امی مواد را که آموختیم از دوستای آمریکایی خود، اینا را بتانیم به صورت درست و اساسی در ساحه ژورنالیسم به افغانستان تطبیق کنیم. و بسیار خرسند هستم که در این ساحه زیاد مسائل را یاد گرفتیم.
I think there were outside factors that made Delhi a good location. I mean, we had the technology there that we needed. We didn't have some of the other outside concerns, so we were able to concentrate on what we came there for and not have to worry about things that were not under our control. And that's true of them as well.
Well, I think these programs where we bring the Afghan professors to a third country, to India or wherever we go, and we collaborate not only between the Afghan universities, but the American universities with Nebraska, with San Jose State, with Ball State in Indiana. These have been extremely beneficial, not only for the American professors, but for the Afghan professors to interact with the other professors from the other universities. I find that to be a real big benefit of this program.
In a short period, I think for 12 days of learning photojournalism with Professor Kim, now I am feeling that 70 to 80% I know about the photojournalism, and I can work better in photojournalism.
When politicians get involved with things, sometimes I think it just gets messed up, but when people deal with each other, I think we realize how much we have in common. You learn that people in Afghanistan are not all that different than you are. They're concerned about themselves and their families and providing safety and a good living for their families. And it's no different whether you're in the United States or Afghanistan. And I think when you have people who can talk with each other without the political overtones, that it just works much better. I mean, we can share directly with the Afghans and they can share with us.
The ultimate beneficiaries of the project are the students of Kabul University. The goal of such projects, or especially this project, is to provide the students at Kabul University with better academically skilled professors, so their professors can teach them according to the latest academic skills and standards the media requires students to work in. So the ultimate beneficiaries are the students in the long run, of course, the sector of media in Afghanistan, in the wider sector. One of the biggest achievements of the government of Afghanistan is the freedom of speech, which is maintained by journalists and students of journalism at Kabul University and other government or private universities in Afghanistan. We were lucky enough to help the Afghan people with providing the faculty at Kabul University, the oldest institution in Afghanistan, with capacity building projects and activities to help the professors over there so they can help their teachers, their students.
I hope that the faculty there at KU can continue to roll forward. That country has been at war in one way or another since 1980, 1979. And education has had to take a back seat to other things. And it's not a wealthy country, so that's kind of understandable. And they've really had to make do with very minimal resources at times. With the new facility they've got, I think things are getting better. There's a lot more media outlets in that country because of technology. Media savviness is on the increase. So I would hope that their value as perceived by the country, by their citizenry there, is improved, and they can continue to make an impact because they are in a position to make this next generation and succeeding generations of Afghans much more knowledgeable about the world. It's been somewhat of a closed society in some ways. And I think the young people there want to know more about the rest of the world, and they want to reach out and interact in a positive way. And I think the journalism faculty are in a unique position to help prepare them to be involved in that. So
from the very, very first, from writing, a syllabus, we engage with the students. We make a contract with the students. We tell the students what the course is going to be, what the outcomes of the course are, and the direction and how we'll get there, how we'll get to those outcomes. And that's from the very first day. And then all along the way, there's not only lecture, but there is engagement with the student. And so I think they got an exposure to that they hadn't had before. And they can become even better teachers than they have been, because they've been good teachers. And it's to take nothing away from anything that they've done in some very, very difficult circumstances. I'm frankly in awe of what they've been able to do. But now they have even more tools that they're able to use. The advantage to UNO is we are so insulated here. We are so insulated in teaching journalism. I mean, it's awful when one of our reporters gets arrested because he or she was taking photographs in a place that the police didn't like, and they get thrown in jail for 12 or 13 hours, if that long. Over there, it's broken kneecaps, it's death threats against the reporter and the reporter's family, or at worst, it's just simple stonewalling. It's just, you have to work so hard to get a story over there. And so I think our exposure to what their conditions are it has helped me take those lessons into the classroom and say, here's why this is so important. Here's why you have to do your job even better.
استادان پانزه ژورنالیسم از این برنامه منفعت برد. استادان پانتون ننگرهار از این برنامه منفعت برد. و من فکر میکنم که شاید برای استادان ایالات متحده آمریکا هم که در این برنامه اشتراک داشتن هم به نفع از اینا تمام شد. زیرا خود درس در اینجا یا آموزش یا نشست‌ها یا تبادل تجارب به گونه‌ای بود که استادان ما عملاً در اینجا ابراز نظر می‌کردن، موضوع را به بحث می‌کشانیدن و نقطه نظرهای خود می‌گفتن، یعنی افکار خود در اینجا باز می‌کردن و به زبان می‌آوردن و به یقین کامل که به هر دو جانب، یعنی هم برای استادان از طرف افغانی از طرف افغانستان و هم برای استادان ایالات متحده آمریکا من فکر میکنم که جالب بود و ثمربار بود.
As an Afghan, I appreciate all the help that the United States has done for Afghanistan, but we hope that these courses and the long-term courses should be provided for Afghanistan till that Afghanistan stands on their own feet and they can do something for themselves to prevent from the war coming back to Afghanistan and make a good situation, peaceful and hopeful situation for Afghanistan.
In my point of view, if this program continue with the journalism fields, with the other universities like Nebraska, Arizona, San Jose, and some other thing, I think it will like blossoming of the journalism in the future. As you know, journalism is like a bridge between the people and government, and the journalist should know a lot of things, and the journalist knowledge should be up to date.
Journalism is important to the Afghan people so that they can see where the corruption is and try to deal with it. They can see that progress is being made. They can have a clear debate about the direction of the country, but it's also important to them as an external view, what journalism shows the rest of the world.
Well, journalism in Afghanistan has thrived a long way out to what it is right now. As I stated before, freedom of speech and freedom of press is the biggest achievement of the Afghan government, which is actually supported by the Western world, especially the United States. So the reason why Afghans enjoy freedom of speech and freedom of press is because the United States has maintained this principle so far, and it has tried to bring the same principles and values to Afghanistan. So for the last 13 years, Afghan people have enjoyed tremendous freedom in terms of what they can say without any fear from anyone in the country. However, this was not the case before 9/11 happened in Afghanistan, before the United States got involved in Afghanistan. This is a big achievement. Afghanistan under the Soviets or under Taliban or under Mujahideen had never enjoyed such a freedom. Journalists were killed because they would write something about an event that was not liked by a warlord or any political figure or anybody else in the country.
I think that's what's really important for us to do now, is to keep that relationship open. Even though there's no longer a grant, even though there's no formal, through any sort of formal channel relationship, there is a personal relationship that we can still have with them, answer questions, or simply be a friend and support for them.
All right, with permission from all of you,